Did you do your job yesterday, Mark? Did you watch Jimmy Kimmel live? Did you stay up? Did you watch it? Now you can put in for the hazard pay, or did you not do what you were asked to do as a member of this show?
I did watch, and I lost my bet. So I'll just say that. And the Royals were winning, so that was fun, too.
Oh, gosh, blame it on the Royals. John, were you watching last night?
I did.
Oh, you did?
I was curious about whether I would be right.
Oh,
about no
man.
apology.
Oh, man.
And I was hating every minute of it because he was just bragging and gloating about everybody tuning in to look at him.
Oh, my gosh. Well, you guys beat me to the punch. I went to sleep my normal time about an hour before Kimmel comes on. I watched it early this morning on YouTube, and you're right, it did have millions of views racked up already. Don't get used to it, Jim. I promise you, okay? It's not going to be on the regular.
Drop-off comes to mind.
Yeah. So last night, Jimmy Kimmel gets up on stage and delivers a fake apology to the American people. Jimmy Kimmel, of course, was suspended 1 week ago for a comment that he made about the Charlie Kirk assassin. When he came out and he said this, in case you want to go back in time to last Monday, this is what got Jimmy Kimmel put on suspension.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
So now Jimmy Kimmel turns himself into a martyr last night, is what he did. Jimmy Kimmel spent a few days being suspended. ABC made it very clear 2 days ago this was their decision and nobody else's. Now, some of the TV station owners around the country, Nexstar and Sinclair, are not bringing back Jimmy Kimmel to their TV stations, and that is absolutely their right. It's called the free enterprise, free markets, free business. Okay? They are making that decision. ABC is making its decision. None of this is involved with the FCC, despite what some of the conspiracy theorists are trying to make you believe. So with that being the case, Kimmel gets up there last night, and, he's got a chance to really just say, I screwed up. And I know it's not a popular thing to do right now, regardless of political affiliation. To be like, I tell a lot of jokes. I say a lot of things. Sometimes it's not going to come off right. Sometimes my points aren't going to be salient. Sometimes I just step in it. It's part of the job. It happens. And I apologize. But he couldn't get himself to do that. And that was the most frustrating and disappointing part of the whole bit.
I've been hearing a lot about what I need to say and do tonight. And the truth is, I don't think what I have to say is going to make much of a difference. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. I have no illusions about changing anyone's mind. But I do want to make something clear because it's important to me as a human.
No, but here's the thing, though. Let me just stop right there. That's such a cop-out. Well, there's no point in me apologizing because I can't say anything that's going to make you like me anyway. Well, I mean, yeah, that's true. There's nothing that Jimmy Kimmel could have said that would have made me say, hey, I'm going to watch this guy every night. That is true. But it's a total cop-out when you're asked, and frankly, if you want to be the adult, if you want to be the big man, all you have to do is say, I made a mistake. This meandering setup of, well, I'm old Jim, and I know most of you watching probably don't like me anyway, and, there's nothing I can say that's going to make you feel bad. That's not the point. That's not the point, Jim, okay? If you get into a debate or a conversation or an argument with your significant other, all right, you admit when you screw up. That's just what you do. Stop with this whole setup and this whole meandering, it doesn't really matter anyway.
And that is, you understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man.
He turns on those crocodile tears real fast.
That's
Holy smokes. I don't know how he does it.
Exactly, on cue.
I mean, that's a skill right there.
Oh, he did it about his kid and Obamacare. That's what originally got me years ago.
I know. He's broken it out, many times from what I've seen on social media. Once again, not that I'm watching, but man, he turned those things on real fast.
I don't think there's anything funny about it. I posted a message on Instagram on the day he was killed, sending love to his family and asking for compassion, and I meant it, and I still do. Nor was it my intention to blame any specific group for the actions of what it was obviously a deeply disturbed individual. That was really the opposite of the point I was trying to make, but I understand that to some that felt either ill-timed or unclear, or maybe both. And for those who think I did point a finger, I get why you're upset. If the situation was reversed, there's a good chance I'd have felt the same way. I have many friends and family members on the other side who I love and remain close to, even though we don't agree on politics at all. I don't think the murderer who shot Charlie Kirk represents anyone. This was a sick person who believed violence was a solution, and it isn't. Ever. And also, selfishly, I am a person who gets a lot of threats. I get many ugly and scary threats against my life, my wife, my kids, my coworkers, because of what I choose to say. And I know those threats don't come from the kind of people on the right who I know and love. So that's what I wanted to say on that subject.
Where do you even start with that? Let's start on the back end. Hey, I'm the real victim here. I get threats too. That's Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah, people say mean things to me as well. I might get direct messages in my inbox that don't make me feel good. That's how Jimmy Kimmel puts a bow on this apology? Less than 2 weeks after Charlie Kirk is murdered in front of thousands of people in real time, seen by millions around the world. Well, I've gotten some nasty letters as well. That's where you're going with this thing, Jimmy Kimmel? Are you kidding me?
You smell what I smell? I'm
Yeah.
getting gaslit out here, man. I can hardly breathe. That very first statement he made in the thing was a lie.
Yep. He goes on to basically say, this was the crux of it, and this is on the text line 913-408-7957. Pete, his entire apology was basically, I'm sorry if that's how some of you took it. And that is spot on the text line.
Mm-hmm.
Pete, I think Jimmy Kimmel went to the John Boehner Drama School. That is well done. He would break out those crocodile tears as well. This is basically what I expected from Jimmy Kimmel. And he made himself into some free speech warrior, is what he tried to do last night. And that's not what any of this was. Because I want to actually take you back to a week ago at this point. Everyone says that FCC Chairman Brendan Carr made these comments about how, well, ABC, we can do this the easy way or the hard way about Kimmel. So let's be clear. ABC puts out a statement about Jimmy Kimmel being put on suspension on Wednesday. Brendan Carr makes those statements in a podcast, The Benny Show, that gets released at about 1:15 in the afternoon on Wednesday. This notion that everybody heard the Benny Show podcast and then ABC was like, oh my goodness, we have to put Kimmel on suspension because of what was said on the Benny Show podcast. Now, Benny Johnson has a huge audience. He used to work with Charlie Kirk. He now does his own show, very popular on YouTube and podcasts and elsewhere. I believe the show is actually part of the Cumulus Podcast Network, if I have that right. So this idea that ABC executives are watching the Benny Show and they see Brendan Carr make these comments and they see it right when the show drops. You know how this stuff works as well. Sometimes they take a day or two for the main comments to come out and they immediately suspend Kimmel. That's not how any of this works. That has been a fabrication from many of those who believe that this is all some kind of top-down, Trump-doing, FCC-driven suspension. ABC didn't say that. ABC never went down that road. ABC never alluded to it. This decision was an ABC decision, and maybe in part it was made by the people that own the TV stations, the Sinclairs, the Nextstars of the world. That's entirely possible that they were also part of the decision-making. But please, this Gestapo, mafia-esque approach that they want to concoct in their own minds has never been backed up by reality. Now, should Brendan Carr have gone on there and said what he said? I don't believe so. I think it's a bad look for him. I do. And I think it's a bad look for the FCC. And I vehemently disagree with the FCC getting involved in anything political. But I also understand his point. ABC is not the same as CNN or MSNBC or Fox News. When you're on cable, you can basically say or do whatever you want, for better or for worse. This is still America. ABC, NBC, CBS, it's a different ballgame. And it's fair to have that nuanced conversation. But I don't think it can be done right now because Jimmy Kimmel has become a martyr in the eyes of many on the left, which is crazy to me. You know, the right's martyring Charlie Kirk, who got murdered in broad daylight while speaking, while using his First Amendment right. Meantime, they've turned Jimmy Kimmel into some kind of a martyr on the other side because he got put on suspension for saying something factually inaccurate on a major broadcast network and using very poor judgment from Kimmel all the way down to the associate producer. I promise you, these two martyrs are not the same, okay? They're not.
They're trying to justify a lie, right? There's nothing about his opinion. We all agree he has a First Amendment right.
Yes.
It was a lie, and we're trying to mask that
and
other issues.
Yes, and that's exactly what happened last night. And I really thought that Kimmel, I didn't think he was going to do this, but there was maybe a 1% chance that Jim could have basically come on and done a show that was just like Carson-esque. That was, hey, I apologize, and then do an apolitical comedy show. Because he had the biggest audience he's had in years, if not ever, last night. It would have been actually an opportunity to build and basically hit the reset button on what the show is and who Jimmy Kimmel is. And I didn't think that was going to happen. It obviously didn't. But that would have been, from a business perspective, a really smart approach. To say, you know what, I screwed up. It was a learning lesson for me. I'm reflecting, and we're doing just a comedy show here. Everybody's fair game. But no, it was back to the same old song and dance. It was back to the same old nonsense. And it'll be up to ABC and, the local stations around the country as to whether or not they want to keep carrying that. But after last night, where you get the huge ratings bump, it's going to be back to business as usual. And maybe there's some on the other side who, once again, treat this guy as a martyr and tune into him for a few weeks. But eventually, it's going to be right back where it was. And then that decision that's going to be made will be a free market business decision, not a cram down from the FCC, no matter what some conspiracy theorist is trying to convince you of. 913-408-7957. Coming up on KCMO, a story here in Kansas City, a dangerous, scary story here in Kansas City that is continuing to get national attention now. We'll tell you what happened and get you the latest next.
Hey, it's Kevin Keatsman. Stick around. I'm coming up at 10 o'clock right after Pete Mundo on KCMO 95.7 FM.
Well, this story is starting to get national attention. We talked about it yesterday. A T-Mobile Center employee at the NBA Youngboy concert on Sunday night was beat up by a minor. Not just any minor, according to reports. The teenager was under the age of 16. Which, man, I mean, you look at this video, and it's all over social media. We've got it up on X and on Facebook. You can see it there. You've got this young guy who looks like he's 18, and he is just wailing away on this T-Mobile Center employee who apparently was telling the kid he had to go back to his seat. And then he gets all beat up. So viral videos have circulated. It is now becoming a national story. To the Kansas City Star's credit, they had this as their lead story last night on the website. Now, of course, it's gone by this morning, but at least for a brief moment, I saw it as the lead story on the Kansas City Star website yesterday. And I will have on Jackson County Prosecutor Melissa Johnson this morning at 7:50. I will ask her in part about this video and this attack. What we do know is that a minor has been detained by KCPD after the video shows him beating up a T-Mobile Center employee at the NBA Youngboy concert on Sunday night. This was confirmed by KCPD. The boy was released to his guardian, and the investigation is ongoing, according to KCPD. Viral videos from multiple concert goers show a young person push an older man wearing a T-Mobile Center polo into an aisle. Using both his fists, the boy punched the sitting man as onlookers screamed no and oh my God. Another concert goer pulled the attacker off of the man, who lost his glasses and appeared dazed. T-Mobile Center spokesperson Shani Tate Ross told Fox 4 that violence is prohibited at the venue and called the attack horrific. The T-Mobile Center did not respond to the Star's request for comment by the time of their publication yesterday. So NBA Youngboy, the name in and of itself is so bizarre. He's from Louisiana. I guess he's a big deal in the rap world. And interestingly, you now have TMZ picking up on this. The New York Post has picked up on this story as well. So this thing is starting to get some traction. When TMZ is on it, when the New York Post is getting on it, it is only a matter of time before it makes it to a place like Fox News, which it would not shock me if it ends up there today. And then it blows up nationally. New York Post writing here, an elderly worker was thrown to the ground and ruthlessly attacked by a teen during an NBA Youngboy gig as concert goers watched the disturbing assault unfold right in front of them. The guy's name is Thomas Schlang. He is 66 years old, and he was working at T-Mobile Center on Sunday night. I am going to work today to try to get a hold of Thomas. He did tell Fox 4 that he went down and he had multiple blows to his head. He said he was so enraged, meaning the person who attacked him, that he was just trying to protect the fans around him. Well, with all due respect to Thomas, there was nothing he was going to do. At that point, he was basically just in charge of protecting himself. He had his hands covering his head, and that was it. And you think about this man who's approaching 70 years old, who's working at T-Mobile Center at this rap concert, and he walks up to a teenager, and he says, "Hey, young man, could you get in your seat?" And this is the response. And I hate to be a pessimist here. I really don't want to have to think this. But are we going to have a he said, she said, or he said conversation here? Is there going to be some cop-out, some allegation that this T-Mobile worker may have, God forbid, said something that he should not have said, that, dare I say, is racially motivated? I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying desperate people do desperate things and make desperate allegations. And at this point, absolutely nothing would surprise me. News in 2 minutes. We're back with you on a big sale that happened here, all next.
You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM.
Well, we could be having new neighbors here pretty soon. Developers have purchased a section of corporate woods in Overland Park and announcing plans for a mixed-use redevelopment. This was reported yesterday by the Kansas City Business Journal. They were the first ones on it. And all we really know at this point in time is that the project could add residential, retail, dining, and recreational components alongside the site's existing office space. Details are still coming out. Business Journal once again broke this story yesterday. But what part of the report says is that it's an effort to reposition the property and reshape one of Johnson County's most prominent business corridors.
Yeah, as in recreational facilities, you think a Major League Baseball stadium?
Oh, man. Is that going to be the new spot they're talking about? Yeah, 119th and Walton all didn't really work. So we're going to go down the road. Maybe come over to Corporate Woods. How about that?
They did say Corporate Woods at one point. I think.
Yeah, that
one
was
or two articles.
That was thrown out there. I mean, listen, there have been more places in Kansas City that have been rumored to get the Royals at this point than there have been places that have not been rumored to get the Royals at this point, John.
Yeah, but we've already got a fireworks show.
Yeah, that's true.
So to add, so that's already done.
Yeah. That
we
list.
get a pickleball court.
Oh, no. Stop with the pickleball. There were people in my neighborhood who wanted to add a pickleball court. I said, do you realize how loud that is? You'll hear that from 3 blocks over. No, we're not adding a pickleball court. Go pay for your own pickleball somewhere else. Now you're getting me all worked up there with that word, Mark. Don't bring up pickleball again, please. Okay? I mean, I love chicken and pickle. I just don't want to hear about pickleball courts right now. So this is one of the dirty little secrets in Overland Park. They've got a problem with Corporate Woods because of the vacancy rates when it comes to commercial real estate, just not being what it was pre-COVID. People are not needing nearly as much office space, if any office space, in the wake of the pandemic. So there's a lot of emptiness around the Corporate Woods headquarters all over the place. You can see it when you drive around. So what do? All right, we're going residential. We are going maybe with some mixed use. We'll have some restaurants. We'll have, a little shopping, because that's definitely what Overland Park is missing right now. Mixed use facilities with shopping and restaurants and apartments. Definitely don't have enough of those. I actually don't hate it, though, because the structures are already here. And let's be honest, the campus is beautiful. They do a great job with the maintenance. My suggestion would be take some of the buildings then, turn them into mixed use. You already have the structures here. And stop putting up all the new ugly things up and down Metcalf and Antioch and all these other places. That's the move. I mean, these places they're putting up some of them look like prisons. There's one down on Antioch and 135th on the southwest corner. Someone's definitely listening and driving by it right now and just looked at it. It looks like a prison. And it was funny. I was out to lunch with somebody like 2 or 3 months ago, and they introduced me to, I don't know if they were the GC on the job or the developer. I don't know who they were, but they were someone involved with that 135th and Antioch project. And I remember being like, bite your tongue, bite your tongue, bite your tongue. Don't say that's the ugliest building you've seen in Kansas City in a decade. Don't say it. And I didn't say it, to my credit. I didn't say it. But man, they are just putting up some horrendous looking buildings around Johnson County that they're calling these mixed-use facilities. So at least Corporate Woods has good-looking buildings, and the structures are there, and the grounds are beautiful. Do that. And just stop putting up all the new stuff, at least for a little bit. My gosh.
I think one of those Spirit Halloween stores going in on the 6th floor upstairs.
Oh, yeah, if nothing else.
Yeah.
If all else fails, Spirit Halloween store is here for the win, at least for a month. All right, so yesterday, I mean, all the talk is about Jimmy Kimmel late at night, and we'll get to more of that coming up here on KCMO. But ABC also had another big interview with Kamala Harris. She's promoting and pimping out this new book that she's got, and she was asked yesterday on The View, hey, why do you think you lost? And take a listen to what Kamala Harris had to say.
To pin it down to one thing, what was the primary reason, do you think, that you lost?
There are many factors, I think, that played into the outcome of that election. But I think probably one of the biggest in my mind is we just didn't have enough time.
You didn't have
We didn't have enough time. We didn't have enough time.
Oh, yeah.
Time, yeah.
Well, you didn't.
And, you know, I mean, one of the reasons I wrote the book is this is unprecedented. Think about this.
Yeah.
That there's a race for president of the United States. The current sitting president is running for re-election. 3.5 months from the election, he decides not to run. The sitting vice president then takes the mantle, running against a former president of the United States who had been running for 10 years with 107 days until the election. And by the way, another piece of what is unprecedented and a bit historical about that race, it is the closest presidential race in the 21st century in terms of the outcome.
Wow.
Yeah.
You don't say that again, because he likes to say over and over again he's got a mandate.
And that's part of why I wrote this book.
Oh, gosh.
Because history will talk about this race.
History.
It is part of American history.
Oh, yes.
And
yeah,
it was
everyone is. There's only
important to me
40. All right,
that
stop. Yeah, there's 47 of them. They're all a part of history in some way, shape, or form. Okay, Kamala, we get it. But none of that is true. In fact, 107 days turned out to be too long for Kamala Harris. The more people got to know her, the less popular she got. That's what the polling showed, John.
Said she didn't have enough time, but I'm like, lady, even the Mayan calendar ran out, right? There's not enough time in the world to fix that.
But remember, I mean, I'm looking at the polling here, the Real Clear Politics polling. So Trump's up big over Biden when Biden withdraws on July 21. And then, remember, they turn to like all the Kamala vibes and they have that DNC convention, Oprah, Michelle, all the big wigs are out. And for most of the month of August into September, Kamala Harris in the polling is up. And as we get into early to mid-October, things start to dramatically shift. Because remember, she kind of hid in this bubble for all of August. Then they had the DNC. And she was feeling pretty good about herself going into the month of September, 2 months to go.
They were
60 days
joy.
left.
Yeah, pushing that joy.
Yeah, it was all about the word joy. Everybody loved joy. Not Joy Behar, like the word joy. Kamala Harris. It was the joy candidacy. And as we got closer and closer and closer to the election, her numbers fell off the map. So that actually tells me the opposite of what Kamala Harris just said. We didn't have enough time. If that election is in mid-September, she probably wins. Instead, it was early November. And the longer she was out there on the campaign trail, and the more that people got to know her, and the more they got to see, Timmy Tim swinging his legs around like a rocket, the more people were like, yeah, this ain't going to happen. We can't have this.
It's time for her to be doing, and that time was every day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was time for her to be doing, and that time was every day.
They do love those close losses, right?
Oh, I know.
Oh, just barely lost. Just like going to the locker room at the tournament, right, for her university. Was it Howard?
Yeah.
Where she went?
Yes.
You guys played great.
Yep. This isn't horseshoes, okay? Being close doesn't matter. And you lost every single swing state. And a Republican won the general for the first time since 2004, or won the popular vote for the first time since 2004. I guess whatever makes you sleep well at night outside of that bottle of wine. Coming up next, the 6 at 6, top 6 stories in the 6 o'clock hour we'll get to on KCMO.
Dave Ramsey here, and you're listening to Pete Mundo on KCMO Talk Radio, now airing on FM at 95.7.
6:49 on a busy Wednesday morning on KCMO Talk Radio. Let's do it.
It's time for the 6 at 6 on 95.7 KCMO Talk Radio. Number 1.
At the top of the list, we have Benjamin Chump coming to Kansas City.
I see what you did there.
Yes. So 50-year-old Charles Adair died in a Wyandotte County jail in July during what is being called a struggle with jail employees. His death was ruled a homicide earlier in September. The Wyandotte County District Attorney's Office charged a deputy, Richard Fatherly, with second-degree murder. Well, Benjamin Crump is now in the mix. As KSHB calls him, the renowned national civil rights attorney who represented the family of George Floyd is now representing Adair's family. Transparency and fairness were the main messages brought forth at a press conference that was held by Benjamin Chump last night in Wyandotte County. Crump and other attorneys watched the body camera footage from inside the Wyandotte County jail where Adair's death took place. They described it as horrific. I mean, you have someone who has been charged with second-degree murder, right? I mean, it was ruled a homicide. What is Chump coming to do outside of earn a buck and try to race hustle around this whole thing? I don't know what exactly he's going for here. It's a tragedy, but it's been ruled a homicide, and they have charged a deputy with second-degree murder. So what exactly is he upset with? I mean, yes, the whole thing is really sad, but I'm confused as to why Benjamin Crump is here right now. But I guess the grift runs deep, you know? Got to make a buck somehow. Got to keep that baby going.
Number 2.
Next up in the 6 at 6, a Kansas City doctor remains in critical condition after a hit and run last week. Dr. Saswat Das was biking near 39th and Harrison Parkway when the driver of a car hit him and left the scene. His family saying there's been an overwhelming amount of support for the people who know him. He moved to Kansas City in July to start his fellowship as a pediatric cardiologist at Children's Mercy, and he was biking on 39th Street on the night of Wednesday, September 17th, when a red Hyundai Sonata hit him and took off. He suffered a traumatic brain injury and still finds himself in critical condition. There is a GoFundMe that has raised $85,000 out of $150,000 thus far on behalf of the doctor. And if you have any information that could help detectives, you are asked to call KCPD or the TIPS hotline at 816-474-8477.
Number 3.
Next up, we've got this story out of T-Mobile Center on Sunday night that is getting now national attention. TMZ and the New York Post have picked up on the elderly worker who was thrown to the ground and punched and attacked by a 14-year-old during an NBA Young Boy concert on Sunday night. So what we do know is that according to the Kansas City Star, the person is at least getting investigated. The teenager at this point was detained and has been released to his guardian, but there is an ongoing investigation according to KCPD. But listen, you have a racial element to all this because you have an old white guy and you have a black teenager who is just pummeling him. And I'm not saying race was in any way a motivator in any of this, but let's be honest, race cuts through on these stories. Now, I think it would have cut through a lot further had the roles been reversed. Sad to say, it shouldn't really matter. We should just say, hey, teenage boy, old guy, boy, this is tragic. This kid, frankly, I think should have some legal repercussions against him. I don't care what color he is. There has to be some legal repercussions against him, and that's it. But I don't know how much national media this is going to get. I do know this, and I do believe this. Had the roles been reversed, it would already be a major national conversation. Just saying.
Number 5.
Next up in the 6 at 6. Oh, excuse me. I skipped from 4 to 5. Let me backtrack on this.
Number 4.
I got ahead of myself. It's okay. I still know how to count to 6, I think. Number 4, good news for the Plaza. All right, Plaza, let's go. They got some new restaurants coming. 3 new restaurants and retail tenants are on their way to the Plaza. As the Kansas City Star notes here, a shopping district with many open storefronts. That's a nice way to put it. The Plaza announcing yesterday it would welcome retail concepts Perch and J&H Sons and Vertice Italian, which was previously announced by Summit Hospitality Group. So new business down on the Plaza. That is a good thing. That is something that all of Kansas City should be cheering for. You know, we want a robust Plaza. We have not had it for the last several years. And boy, if we start to turn that place around, that would be a great thing for Kansas City. Maybe this is a step in the right direction.
Number 5.
All right, now to number 5. Sister Jean, at 106 years old, is officially calling it a career as the campus minister and men's basketball team chaplain of Loyola Chicago. You may recall her a few years ago becoming a March Madness sensation. 2018 is when she became the darling of the NCAA tournament, when Loyola Chicago made the Final Four as a number 11 seed. But they have been in the tournament since, and she has been there every step of the way. And now she is 106 years old, and she is stepping away from the gig. Wow. Give me some of those Sister Jean jeans, okay? That's tremendous. Finally retiring at 106.
Great genes. I remember that team from 2018. They had some guys from Blue Valley Northwest on that team.
Well, yes. And I remember that because it was as I was getting set to move out here almost 8 years ago now and following that team to the Final Four. Is that going to be you, John? Can we count on you till 106? What do you think? Is that okay?
Yeah, no, I come with the property.
Okay. And last up, let's do it.
Number 6.
All right. The New York Times accidentally pre-published the wrong verdict for the trial of Donald Trump would-be assassin Ryan Ruth. The New York Times accidentally published the story saying man found not guilty of trying to assassinate Trump in Florida. Of course, that's not right. He was found guilty, but they published the wrong article saying he was not found guilty. You can't make it up. Unbelievable stuff.
They tried.
They tried, as they have done before. That is blatant as it comes. There's your 6 at 6, top 6 stories in the 6 o'clock hour. Let me talk about this Ryan Ruth story, though, and why it's important and why I think it's getting downplayed next. Is it just me, or does it feel like a trial of a man who nearly assassinated the former president who then was a candidate really didn't get treated with the amount of attention that it should have gotten treated with over the last few weeks? 7:05 on a Wednesday morning on KCMO Talk Radio. I see this story with Ryan Ruth, and don't get me wrong, everybody covered it. And everyone wrote their news piece about it. Even though the New York Times published the wrong piece initially, they published a piece that said Ryan Ruth was found not guilty, which is crazy. But they screwed it up. I get it. I've been in that world. You pre-write both stories, and then you hit publish on the correct one. So somebody hit publish on the wrong story at the New York Times. It went on their website for a hot minute. Then they had to take it down and publish the correct story that said Ryan Ruth was found guilty on Tuesday of attempting to assassinate President Trump, then candidate Trump. But if you think about this story in the wake of the current landscape that we find ourselves in, of course, Trump nearly lost his life at the hands of somebody else 1 year ago. Then there was this Ryan Ruth situation. We are 2 weeks removed to the day from Charlie Kirk's assassination. And the article gets covered and the story gets covered, but most people have already forgotten about it. I mean, when you flip around on the national news this morning, this is not a headline thing. I mean, I'm looking right now. CBS this morning, their morning show is talking about Ukraine. I got Good Morning America right now doing more Jimmy Kimmel. We'll get to that. The Today Show, touching on some of Kimmel here. So they're already moving on. CNBC is talking about Trump administration's energy plan. I get it. They're not really a news show. So it's like we've got a guy who almost lost his life twice last year at the hands of deranged people motivated by politics. And it's already feeling like a footnote a day after it happens. I don't understand that unless it's because you want to downplay it to begin with. And that is more about what the story is here. I believe the main goal here is to downplay the fact that this violence has continued to take place. And it has overwhelmingly, in the most prominent cases, been one side against the other. And that's why it feels like it's gotten downplayed to me. I don't know what other conclusion I can really come to right now, John.
So much so that they're not doing the gun thing.
I know.
Right?
Yes, they've dropped that.
Yeah, they could have picked up the gun thing right here.
They have not done it.
See what we've been saying all along could have been the story.
So you have this guy, Ryan Ruth, who was a building contractor from North Carolina. He was also found guilty of assaulting a federal officer and several firearms violations. The 12-member jury deliberated for about 2.5 hours following a fast-moving trial in which Mr. Ruth chose to defend himself without a lawyer. After the verdict was read in court yesterday, he appeared to try to hurt himself and stab himself in the neck several times with a pen. He was restrained by U.S. Marshals, removed from the courtroom, came back a few minutes later, shackled and escorted out by marshals. His necktie and jacket had been removed, but he did not appear to be injured. And then apparently, as he's getting let out, one of his daughters, Sarah, who was one of several relatives present, started screaming. She yelled vulgarities and told her father she loved him and that she would fight to get him out of prison. And thank goodness last year the Secret Service found this guy. He was hiding in the bush on a golf course. Remember, Trump's playing golf last year, and this guy's hiding out in a bush a couple of holes ahead. And as we have since learned, the Secret Service, when Trump's out there golfing, they stay a hole or two ahead to kind of make sure that there's nothing nefarious going on up there. Well, in this case, they just happened to stumble on this guy hiding out in the bushes with a gun, ready to take a shot at the then candidate, Donald Trump. Former president, then candidate, now, of course, president of the United States. So in the wake of what happened 2 weeks ago, I can't sit here and downplay this story. I don't think we should be downplaying this story. I know it's not as dramatic as what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania, so it just naturally hasn't gotten nearly as much attention. But the guy's going to prison for a long time. Thank goodness for that. And it's not going to be one of those stories that just it shouldn't be one of those stories, I should say, that just gets swept under the rug, no matter how much people try to do it. And, God knows there are many that want to do that because they don't want to talk about these stories. They don't want to admit that we had these two prominent assassination attempts against the then candidate, Donald Trump. They just don't want to have those conversations. It's 7:10. It's good to be here kicking off the hour on KCMO Talk Radio. So Jimmy Kimmel did find himself giving a quasi-apology last night. And if you didn't hear the apology, non-apology, well, this is what you got from old Jim.
I've been hearing a lot about what I need to say and do tonight. And the truth is, I don't think what I have to say is going to make much of a difference. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. I have no illusions about changing anyone's mind. But I do want to make something clear because it's important to me as a human. And that is, you understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't.
That's probably the third or fourth time I've heard it. And I'll get to more of it here. But it sounds faker every time I hear it.
Touche.
I don't think there's anything funny about it. I posted a message on Instagram on the day he was killed, sending love to his family and asking for compassion, and I meant it, and I still do. Nor was it my intention to blame any specific group for the actions of what it was obviously a deeply disturbed individual. That was really the opposite of the point I was trying to make, but I understand that to some that felt either ill-timed or unclear, or maybe both. And for those,
no, it wasn't ill-timed. I mean, it was ill-timed and unclear, but it was a lie. It was Jimmy Kimmel 5 days after the assassination claiming that this was some kind of a MAGA dude. That was the interpretation of Jimmy Kimmel's commentary from 1 week ago, this past Monday. That was it. It wasn't about being unclear or ill-timed. Jimmy Kimmel has been ill-timed for a long time. That's why his ratings are where they are. His timing stinks, and the content's no good. Okay, I just saw CNN breaking this down. 6.8 million viewers, which is, exponentially more than he is used to for one of his monologues. So he got a big number last night. He will be a martyr to some people, but let's be clear. There was no real apology here at all.
Those who think I did point a finger, I get why you're upset. If the situation was reversed, there's a good chance I'd have felt the same way. I have many friends and family members on the other side who I love and remain close to, even though we don't agree on politics at all. I don't think the murderer who shot Charlie Kirk represents anyone. This was a sick person who believed violence was a solution, and it isn't. Ever.
Okay. So it's interesting how they do this, right? Very quick to tie somebody that they disagree with to some kind of group. Nazis, fascists, KKK, whatever. Wherever they want to go down the road of. This guy clearly gets into a dark web world with a transgender significant other and is motivated to assassinate a young man because he doesn't like what he says. And Kimmel makes sure he squeezes in this line of, this guy was just, lone wolf, individual, deranged person. Well, that also isn't telling the whole story there, Jim. But I know. You didn't want to get in the way of your own narrative last night, right? Because that is what it largely was about. And mix in some crocodile tears while you're at it. Which, even though they now love him probably in Hollywood and he's become a martyr, that ain't winning you any Emmys. I promise you that much. Coming up next, we'll talk to a friend of the show who got a big promotion yesterday, or a big appointment, I should say, and it became official. We'll tell you who and why next.
from the nation's heartland. It's Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
Yesterday, there was a meeting of the Kansas City Board of Police Commissioners, and the newest police commissioner in Kansas City, Missouri, is our friend and former Kansas City Councilwoman Heather Hall, who is joining us on KCMO. Heather, congratulations. Thanks for being here.
Well, good morning, Pete. Thank you.
So you're on the board now. What is priority number one for you?
Well, priority number one is always to have more police officers on the streets of Kansas City to protect the people in the city.
And with that being the case, then, how do you go about trying to expedite that process? Is it budgetary, or is there something else you feel like you can do as a police commissioner now?
Well, I think what we can do now is really talk about the climate at the police department and with the city. You know, the relationship's gotten so much better since it was even just 3 or 4 years ago. And people are now wanting to sign up to come to the police academy. And we're getting record numbers of people wanting to come to the academy and to be accepted into the academy and then to go through the 9-month process of becoming a police officer. So that's really good news. Yesterday at the board, they announced that we have hit the 1,200 mark, which is extraordinary. We haven't done that in at least, well, several years.
Okay, so you got 1,200 sworn in officers, and the goal is what, 1,400, 1,500?
Well, 14 would be wonderful, but I remember a day when there were 1,700, and that would be nice, but I think that might be pie in the sky right now, but 14 would be great.
So 1,400 is the goal. You're at 1,200 right now, so basically you got to hire and get people on faster than people are retiring. Just out of curiosity, do you know how many retirements are expected here at the end of the year?
I don't have that number off the top of my head, Pete, but maybe next month at the board I'll be able to get more information.
So what's it like seeing your old pal Quentin Lucas now that you're co-police commissioners there?
Well, you know, it's actually been pleasant. The good news is we both remember things that we did together, or even sometimes we weren't exactly all together on things on the council. But a lot of those things are coming back, and we're seeing either the positives or the negatives of some of those decisions on the council that we've made. And now we're able to maybe course correct and do some things that we can work on together to make things better for the department and for the citizens, especially now that we're coming into budget season here next month.
How about the jail? I know that's something that you dealt with during your time on the Kansas City City Council, but there is no jail, of course, and there was a report over the weekend that any construction on a jail is not going to happen until 2027. How involved can you be and will you be with that process in the years to come?
Sure. So I don't have all the details on what you've just said, so I need to get up to speed on what exactly is the timeline and why we have that timeline. I'm not sure if we have so much going on with the events that are happening in 26 that we don't have the construction capabilities, or if it's because there's some other reason, and I don't have that information yet. Yeah,
I know it's something that you dealt with, because were you on the council when Kansas City closed its municipal jail, or was that before your time?
I think that was before my time. What I was concerned with while I was on the council was building a new jail. And I spent years on the council trying to get us to open it and to build even the modular jail, or turn some current building we had into a structure that would make that happen just in the short term. But instead we opted for sending our prisoners to Vernon and Johnson County, Missouri, which was ludicrous.
Yeah, and cost money and waste time.
Doing. Well, it's unsafe too. Just think about the people who are transporting the people. I mean, there's so many things that could go wrong in that span of space and time.
That's a good point.
Never a good idea.
I know the Attorney General, the new Attorney General, Catherine Hanaway, was there yesterday as well to see you get sworn in. How encouraged are you by her and what she hopefully will do and the resources she will provide when it comes to crime in Kansas City?
Well, I was extraordinarily pleased to have her show up yesterday. You know, to have the highest law enforcement officer in the state be interested in each one of the major city boards of police commissioners is really it's encouraging, and it makes us feel good to know that she's on our side and on our team. And then to have her hear us talk about the jail situation, and even the prosecutor Melissa Johnson spoke to the numbers and how the Jackson County jail is going to be over capacity when it's even first built day one. That's not how we want the jail in Kansas City to be. And she heard that. She understands where we are, and I believe that she wants to partner with us and do these things. She's launching a program, I believe, in Springfield soon this fall that she's going to try some projects out, and then hopefully those might be things we can implement here in Kansas City.
That would be great. Heather Hall, the newest Board of Police Commissioner, joining us on KCMO Talk Radio. Heather, thank you so much for the time. Good luck. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Pete. Have a good day.
All right, you as well. That's Heather Hall on KCMO Talk Radio. Next hour, we have your next chance this week to win Jordan Davis tickets. He's playing at Cable Dahmer this Friday. We'll have a text to win keyword at 8:15. And also 5 more chances today, $1,000. 8:34, 10:34, 12:34, 2:34, and 4:34. Also a text to win keyword coming up next hour here on KCMO Talk Radio. Coming up, Jim Kimmel spent a lot of time last night talking about how he's basically a free speech warrior. I've got an example of real censorship that I think Jim needs to brush up on. And it was also part of yesterday's news cycle. Next.
Stream Mundo in the morning on the KCMO Talk Radio app.
So last night, Jim Kimmel gets up there, does a show for the first time in about a week, and sheds a few crocodile tears and, acts like some kind of free speech warrior. Let's not forget, this guy, when Tucker Carlson was fired, was doing cartwheels. He celebrated Roseanne getting canceled as well. And now he's a free speech martyr.
How
Just
about
ask
that?
him. It's funny how that works, right? So it's coincidental that yesterday it came out that Google admitted to Congress the Biden administration pressed YouTube to censor COVID, quote, misinformation, end quote. This was in the news yesterday, the same day that Jim gets up there and becomes this free speech warrior. You want to talk about real free speech being on the line? This is it. Google admits censorship under Biden, promises to end bans of YouTube accounts of thousands of Americans censored for political speech. Yesterday, the press release says this. Today, thanks to the oversight of Chairman Jim Jordan, Google commits to offer all creators previously kicked off of YouTube due to political speech violations on topics such as COVID-19 and elections an opportunity to return to the platform. Google also admitted the following to the House Judiciary Committee. 1. The Biden administration pressured Google to censor Americans and remove content that did not violate YouTube's policies. The Biden administration's censorship pressure was, quote, unacceptable and wrong. 3. Public debate should never come at the expense of relying on authorities. 4. The company will never use third-party fact checkers. 5. Europe's censorship laws target American companies and threaten American speech, including the removal of lawful content. These major admissions come after Chairman Jordan's subpoena to Google and a years-long investigation into the company. That is censorship right there, John.
How about that? The left, they're supporters of that, the Department of Truth or Ministry of Truth we wanted to have to sort out misinformation.
Yes.
They deemed it.
Exactly right. So YouTube admitting that it was the previous guys who basically strong-armed them to shut down speech on YouTube that they did not like. That is a violation right there of free speech at its very core. Okay? Now, I'm at least willing to say that I don't want Brendan Carr and I don't want Donald Trump trying to muscle Jimmy Kimmel out of a job. Let ABC make that call based on sales, based on revenue, based on profits, based on whether or not other television stations around the country want to carry the show, like Sinclair and Nexstar. Let that be a free market decision. I really don't want Trump or Brendan Carr getting involved in this. I'm willing to say that. I'm wondering if we have the conversation in reverse, if other people would be willing to say that, John.
I'm with you. I'd like to reconstruct a timeline, though. So we had Jimmy Kimmel say what he said. And it happened to be a lie, not that it was just his opinion, but we move on from the lie. He was going to be on the next night. Trump didn't get to him or anybody. ABC reviewed what he was going to have to say the next night and then made the decision.
That's a good point.
So I don't see any free speech being amended here or anything.
This was ABC saying, dude, we got to turn the temperature down.
Yeah.
If you're not going to play by our rules,
right,
we're taking you off the air until you do.
And then we saw him storm into his vehicle and leave. Right?
Yes, yeah. TMZ had those photos.
So that seems like a self-inflicted or a choice he made.
Yes.
Jimmy Kimmel made.
That was the report last week, that he basically didn't want to apologize.
Seemingly, yeah.
And ABC said, all right, fine, then the show is suspended. Now, there were people saying that Jimmy Kimmel was fired. Sorry, Jim. They were saying that Jim was fired. And that I don't know why people kept saying that. I don't know if they were confused or what happened there, but everyone, or not everyone, there were people being like, Kimmel's out. He was never fired. He was on an indefinite suspension. That was always the case.
I think Trump thought he was fired on the airplane yesterday. He mentioned, he's let go, they let him go.
Well, that's where Trump puts up this Truth Social last night. And he says, I can't believe ABC fake news gave Jimmy Kimmel his job back. The White House was told by ABC his show was canceled. Something happened between then and now because his audience is all caps gone and his, quote, talent, end quote, was never there. Why would they want someone back who does so poorly, who's not funny, and who puts the network in jeopardy by playing 99% positive Democrat garbage? He is yet another arm of the DNC, and to the best of my knowledge, that would be a major illegal campaign contribution. Trump adds here, I think we're going to test ABC out on this. Let's see how we do. Last time I went after them, they gave me $16 million. This one sounds even more lucrative. A true bunch of losers. Let Jim Kimmel, well, he says Jimmy, let Jimmy Kimmel rot in his bad ratings. Okay, Trump finally gets to a decent point there at the end. Let Jim rot in his bad ratings. Let the marketplace take care of this. That's where you can't have it both ways. I mean, there are people in Trump's camp and the FCC, I believe, rightfully saying that this is going to be a free market decision. ABC will make the call based on how well the show does, profit-wise. You will have the owners of television stations around the country, like Sinclair and Nexstar, who will decide whether or not they want to continue to carry the show. That will influence ABC's decision, and that's it. Now, of course, there is that nuance of the fact that ABC, NBC, and CBS do have FCC licenses that have to be overseen. They have to handle those licenses appropriately. They're not a cable news channel. This is not Fox News. This is not CNN. It's not MSNBC. So, yes, they are held to a different standard, and it's fair to point that out. But when you put out a post like this, you are giving your other side a lot of ammunition to work with, right? By saying, well, let's see what we can do here. I went after them. They gave me $16 million over that, George Snuffleupagus commentary. So let's see if we can get them now.
Yeah.
That's where it's like, man, if you're going to do it, can you be a little more sly about it?
I was going to say, it doesn't take much. They'll make something out of nothing as it is. Right?
Oh, that they will definitely do that, right? So I'm just saying, you've got to be more nuanced with the approach and explain exactly why, if you're going to do this, why it's not an administration strong-arming a television network. Explain the FCC difference between having a license if you're ABC versus if you're MSNBC, where you can say whatever you want, right? I think going down that road and explaining those differences and having the conversation, if you're going to go here, is an important thing that you've got to do right now. Because if not, you are just feeding and fanning the flames here by basically saying, Kimmel got his job back. I don't like that. I think he's a hack, and I think we're going to test ABC out on this and see how it goes. We all know that these networks are biased. We all know they haven't done real journalism, and they do not platform voices on one side of the political aisle. And because it's not a YouTube channel, it's not a cable news channel, they do have different standards. How exactly do you go about doing that, though? That is the difficult part. 913-408-7957. I got 30 seconds for you. Steve and KCK, what's on your mind?
Hey, Pete, I watched the performance last night. It was one of those, I'm sorry you felt that way,
yes.
Apologies, I think the guy's contract is up next year. They were going to fire him, and they had all this blowback from people canceling their Disney subscriptions. So I wouldn't. I think he's still a goner. His ratings are terrible. He's terrible at his job. He has no talent. So don't fall for the crocodile tears. I mean,
no.
This is he's an actor. He hosts the Oscars. So let's. I thought he was playing to his liberal audience last night. Don't fall for it. Is what I'm saying, basically.
Thank you, Steve. How about that, too? When he mentions, hey, we've got hundreds of people who work on this show. My gosh, man. You doing 5 hours a week? You got hundreds of people on the show? I got myself, I got John, I got Mark, I got 3 guys. We're doing 20 hours a week. Jeez. What do we do?
You're doing 90% of the lifting here, but, man, we're better than them by Doge standards.
Yeah. We are a much more efficient operation. I'll just say that much. Coming up, Melissa Johnson is the Jackson County prosecutor. She's going to join us next And I'm going to ask her how her meeting went with Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway yesterday and whether or not she would welcome state help and, dare I say, federal help for Kansas City to clean up the crime issue. She'll join us next.
Call Mundo 913-408-7957. Now on 95.7 FM.
Yesterday, we had the Missouri Attorney General, Catherine Hanaway. She just took over from Andrew Bailey in studio. She was on her way to the Board of Police Commissioners meeting in Kansas City and also said that she was going to visit with the Jackson County prosecutor, who's been on the job for about 9 months, Melissa Johnson, who now joins us on KCMO Talk Radio. Melissa, we appreciate your time as always. And let's just start here. I know the AG told us that she was willing to offer any state help that she could give to Kansas City and Jackson County when it comes to investigations that are underway, whether it's homicides or anything else, to try to expedite the process of getting some of these bad guys off the streets. How did you see that conversation going? And is that something that you would welcome from the Attorney General?
Always good to be on with you this morning, Pete. And I just want to start by saying that my conversation with AG Hanaway was beyond encouraging. I sincerely appreciate her offer of help. And absolutely, I am open to any additional resources that make sense, that align with our deficiencies in our office, and that can help us better serve the residents of Jackson County. Her office already substantially helps us with various appeals to uphold our convictions, and I am happy that she is going to continue to offer that support that is prescribed by statute. But absolutely, we discussed potentially partnering on human trafficking when the World Cup comes, because I know that that is a huge primary priority for her, as well as any other support that we might need as it pertains to violent crime and drug trafficking, which was a huge priority for her when she was U.S. Attorney and is a priority of mine since I changed our drug prosecution policy and are now charging all drug distribution cases, whether there's a nexus to violence or not. So I see plenty of points of synergy, and I would gladly welcome that help when the time comes.
So that was something that your predecessor infamously basically decided not to prosecute anymore, right? That was drug trafficking charges that were not directly related to some kind of violent crime. So you're now going after those cases and going after those drug dealers, which I would assume is taking more time and resources. So how could the state help you with that? Or do you feel like you have the bodies that you need to handle that here in Jackson County?
Well, right now we're doing all right. Just this week, we charged a Grandview man with 7 counts of drug manufacturing and distribution for how he is distributing fentanyl in our community. So right now, I think we are well staffed. We only have 1 attorney vacancy in our office, which a lot of other prosecutors' offices around the country cannot say the same. Even around the state can't say the same. So people want to work at the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office. And so I feel good about our staffing numbers right now. But of course, that may be subject to change, and I have to stay nimble and open to receiving any level of help to keep our residents safe.
How about the backlog on any of these investigations that are happening regarding the homicide suspects around Kansas City and the county as a whole? Is there a place for the state to help on that front, or is that not something you feel like you need help with right now?
Well, I'll defer that analysis to the policing agencies themselves, since they are the ones that actually do the investigations and compile all of the evidence. I don't want to speak for their resources and how they view the issue, but as it pertains to prosecution, our case numbers are high because we're charging a lot more cases, but I feel good about where we are as far as staffing.
Melissa Johnson is here, the Jackson County prosecutor on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We're streaming, as always, on the KCMO Talk Radio app. I do want to ask you, too, this story that's getting now national attention, this teenager who looks like he's beating up an old usher at the NBA Youngboy concert at T-Mobile on Sunday night.
Yeah.
What is your office doing about that?
Well, our office is not doing anything about that right now because the suspect is a juvenile. And in our system in the state of Missouri, my office would not touch that case unless that juvenile was certified as an adult, which has not occurred yet and does take some time. I don't want to speak too much on the specific facts because there may come a day where that young person is certified as a juvenile, and we would gladly and happily take that case. And so as it pertains to my jurisdiction, I don't currently have it over that particular incident right now, but if that changes, we're ready to get to work.
And that is something we're sadly seeing around the country, that younger people are getting involved with more violent crime, not just in Kansas City, but we're seeing it here, but around the country as well. There have been conversations on what age is appropriate to charge somebody as an adult. Can you speak to your viewpoint on that and what you think would be helpful to communities at large if that's something that we looked at, lowering the age of when you could charge somebody as an adult?
Well, I think it has to be a case-by-case analysis, right? There's a huge difference between a 15-year-old that commits 2 homicides and a 16-year-old that has stolen 1 car, right? We need to look at the entire totality of the circumstances and then compare that to the age and the circumstances around that young person's upbringing. Have they had adequate access to services? So I don't believe that it could be a one-size-fits-all, but there have been a number of instances that I've seen across the country where I did feel it was appropriate for a 14 or 15-year-old to be tried as an adult just because of the egregiousness of their conduct and the repetition of their conduct, the frequency of their conduct. So again, I feel like it has to be a case-by-case analysis, but I will never shy away from the fact that even if a young person makes a mistake, sometimes that mistake is you cannot come back from, and we have to teach it and treat it and approach it as such.
So this decision KCPD will investigate it, and then who makes the decision on where this case at T-Mobile goes from there? Will it just be a judge in family court?
Correct.
Okay.
The juvenile officer will decide to move for a certification hearing or not, and then that hearing will occur, and the judge will make the ultimate decision.
Gotcha. All right. Well, Melissa Johnson, the Jackson County prosecutor on KCMO, we appreciate your time as always, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.
Looking forward to it. Have a good one, Pete.
All right. Melissa Johnson, always appreciate her time on 95.7 FM. We do have some breaking news as we approach 8 o'clock. 3 people have been shot at a Dallas ICE facility. The shooter is down, according to the agency. At least 3 people were injured in a shooting at an ICE facility in Dallas, Texas this morning. The shooting reportedly occurred as ICE officers were transferring detainees into the facility. The shooter is down due to a self-inflicted wound. It's a developing story. We'll have more on this as we hit the 8 o'clock hour. Rich Lowry, the editor of the National Review, will join us coming up at 8:15. We also have those Jordan Davis tickets we'll give away in 15 minutes on KCMO. Well, we're following the story here in Dallas this morning where the rain is causing issues on the roadways. And now you also have a major backup along I-35 down in Dallas because at least 3 people have been shot at an ICE facility down in Dallas. Secretary Kristi Noem, Homeland Security, putting on social media here a couple of minutes ago, there was a shooting this morning at the Dallas ICE detention facility. Details are still emerging, but we can confirm there were multiple injuries and fatalities. The shooter is deceased by a self-inflicted gunshot wound. She says here, while we don't know the motive, we know that our ICE law enforcement is facing unprecedented violence against them. It must stop. Please pray for the victims and their families. That is from Kristi Noem, Homeland Security, here in the last couple of minutes on KCMO Talk Radio. So as we get more information on this, we'll bring it to you this morning on KCMO Talk Radio. But once again, at least 3 people shot at a Dallas ICE facility here in the last half hour or so. It's a breaking story. We'll get you the latest as soon as we have it on 95.7 FM. Not a good situation at all. We'll ask Rich Lowry about that and much more from the National Review. He will be here coming up in 10 minutes. We also have those Jordan Davis tickets in less than 10 minutes on KCMO. So what are the people closest to Charlie Kirk saying about Jimmy Kimmel last night? Andrew Colvett was the producer of the Charlie Kirk Show. He has been one of the most vocal people in the wake of Charlie's assassination 2 weeks ago today. And here is what he said about Jimmy Kimmel's apology. And I'll play a little bit of this. I won't play the whole thing, but I'll play a little bit of this, and then we'll get to what one of those closest to Charlie Kirk is saying in the wake of this Jimmy Kimmel apology, non-apology.
I've been hearing a lot about what I need to say and do tonight. And the truth is, I don't think what I have to say is going to make much of a difference. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. I have no illusions about changing anyone's mind. But I do want to make something clear because it's important to me as a human. And that is, you understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't think there's anything funny about it. I posted a message on Instagram on the day he was killed, sending love to his family and asking for compassion, and I meant it, and I still do.
All right. Andrew Colvett, executive producer of the Charlie Kirk Show, wrote last night, early this morning, "This was not good enough, Jimmy. It's simple. Here's what you needed to say. I'm sorry for saying the shooter was MAGA. He was not. He was of the left. I apologize to the Kirk family for lying. Please accept my sincere apology. I will do better. I was wrong." That is the post on X from Andrew Colvett, the executive producer of the Charlie Kirk Show. He added here 24 minutes ago, "Yes, Jimmy got emotional. So what? He's emotional for himself because he almost torched his entire career." He says Kimmel is an unrepentant liar who tried to blame Charlie's assassination on the part of the country that just spent the last 2 weeks praying and holding vigils. What he's really saying is that he still thinks it's fair game to slander conservatives. He would rather advance his own political and cultural agenda than confront the truth. The truth is that his own side has been fanning the flames of political assassinations for years. The truth is that someone on the left picked up a gun and murdered someone on the right who advocated for peaceful debate. It's critical that liars admit they lied. There can be no restoration without that. Anything short of that is fake and scripted, and it's designed to endear him to his fans, not make right the wrong he committed. That is the latest statement from Andrew Colvett, the executive producer of the Charlie Kirk Show, 24 minutes ago. And we say all these nice words, and all these folks come out of the woodwork the last 2 weeks and say, stop fanning the flames. But what evidence is there to suggest that that's happening? Where are you seeing that actually take place? I mean, I heard Kamala Harris say that Trump's a tyrant the other day on TV.
A tyrant? We used to compare the strength of our democracy to communist dictators. That's what we're dealing with right now, Donald Trump.
How is that turning down the temperature? What is that doing to make people feel The crazy people out there feel like they do not need to commit some kind of political violence. Where are you seeing that happen? And I'm not denying the fact that there are some people on both sides of the political aisle who are guilty of fanning political flames. I'll readily admit that. Okay, Trump hasn't been perfect on that stuff. There's a lot of people who you can look at and say, come on, can you do your part to turn down the temperature? I will admit that. But in the wake of this shooting and this political assassination, based on what the motives very clearly appear to be, who's going to step up and lead the way? And I don't expect it to be a comedian that nobody watches on ABC who's lucky to have his job back. I really don't think that, as much as it would have been great for Kimmel to come out and say that, I don't really expect that to be him. He's an entertainer. I would like to see it from some of the prominent people within the political ranks say it, and you're not getting it. You're not hearing it anywhere. And that has been as disappointing and frustrating as anything else. Now, there have been some conversations as to whether or not what Jimmy Kimmel said is what many of us believe that he said. I want to play this for you from last week and then just, share with you what some people may be alleging in the wake of Jimmy Kimmel's suspension and then unsuspension after he came back on the scene last night.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between.
So, Mark, I know you've seen some of this on social media, as have I. The insinuation there being that Kimmel was not flat out saying, hey, the shooter's MAGA. What he's insinuating there is what? That Republicans were quick to point the finger at the other side politically?
Yeah, just that he wasn't one of theirs.
That they were quick to say, hey, this guy's not one of ours, right?
Just push it. Hey, he's over on the other side.
Yes.
Which it turned out that's right.
Yes, exactly. So was there ever a doubt? I mean, don't get me wrong. In the days after, the 48 hours after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and we didn't have all the information on the person, of course, the story was more about mourning because we still were waiting for the facts, right? Trying to figure out who this guy was and what his background was and everything else. So that's what we did here on this show. That was our approach here on KCMO. But was there ever really a doubt? I mean, I didn't sit here and say something that was factually inaccurate, but boy, my gut felt pretty clear on where this was all going to go and what the end result was going to be. That was in my gut. I didn't report it as fact. But then Kimmel comes out on Monday night, and no, I mean, he didn't sit there and say, well, this guy clearly was a MAGA guy, but the insinuation was as such.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
The insinuation that it was the right trying to score political points from the assassination of one of their own, as if that was the main goal in the wake of the Charlie Kirk assassination, is factually inaccurate and is gross as well, John.
Yeah, no, he said is anything other than one of them when he referenced the MAGA group. So it's open and shut case right there to me.
8:14. Rich Lowry, the editor of the National Review, is going to join us coming up on KCMO Talk Radio. We've got a lot to talk to him about, and we will also give you the latest on what we know right now. At least 3 people shot at a Dallas ICE facility. We are monitoring that story this morning from last hour on KCMO Talk Radio. As more comes out, we'll have it for you here on 95.7 FM. Your text to win keyword is BAR, B-A-R, BAR, to see Jordan Davis at Cable Dahmer Arena. Text BAR to 913-408-7957.
Hey, it's Kevin Keatsman. Stick around. I'm coming up at 10 o'clock right after Pete Mundo on KCMO 95.7 FM.
And breaking news this hour, we have 3 people shot at a Dallas ICE facility. We are learning, courtesy of the breaking news from Fox, that those hit were not ICE agents, but rather detainees at the ICE facility. So we're still learning more. As the details come out, we'll bring them to you here on KCMO Talk Radio. Rich Lowry is the editor of the National Review. Rich, I know it's very early in this story, but your reaction to what we're learning this morning out of Dallas.
It's too early to know exactly. It's natural. We know where all our minds went, right? This is someone who thinks ICE is the Gestapo. Reacting violently on that belief, but we don't know. So we need to learn more.
Exactly. Well, Rich, I didn't want to book you too early this morning. I know you stayed up late to watch Jim Kimmel last night. So, what did you think of Jimmy Kimmel's return and how this story has played out over the last week?
Well, I got home late and forgot it was happening because I went to the Yankee game. They had a walk-off win against the White Sox. Still chasing the Blue Jays and have a chance to catch them. Look, I don't like Jimmy Kimmel. I don't think it's a good show. I don't think it's funny. I don't think we need yet another late-night so-called comedian who represents this monochromatic point of view. That if this game were on the up and up, the late-night show host would break down like a third would be noticeably progressive, a third would be independent, and a third would be notably conservative, right? But that's not how it is. They're all the same. But I don't think the FCC should have been given a push out the door. So I don't think Brendan Carr should have stuck his nose in last week. I think he should have let nature discourse. Neither he stays on the air or ABC on his own decides to suspend him or fire him or whatever. But I'm not a Jimmy Kimmel fan, but I'm also not a fan of the FCC bullying people.
So then what is that fine line between saying, hey, they do have an FCC license. They're not Fox News. They're not CNN. They do have to, work on behalf of the public. So where do you draw? Because I agree with you. I really don't want the FCC or Trump getting private employees fired from their jobs because he doesn't like them. I don't want that. But then where do you factor in the fact that ABC, NBC, and CBS do have these FCC licenses? And it's fair to say when it comes to their political bend, it is 95% in one direction. Yeah. What do you do about that?
Well, I don't think there's much that the FCC can or should do about it. Now, there's that provision in the law that says public interest, and it's really vague. The Supreme Court, I think there's a decision decades and decades ago that upheld the idea that's really vague, and the FCC can kind of interpret it however they want. So it's legal. It's not unlawful, but I just think it's against the spirit of free speech. Maybe you can job on a little bit. I wish this were fairer. But trying to get someone directly fired and kind of policing speech in that way, I don't think is right. So, if ABC starts airing porn in that time slot, yeah, I think we all realize that's way over the line. But just airing an annoying comedian who hates Trump, whose show is going down the toilet, I don't think that is a violation of the public interest such that the FCC should be trying to shut it down. And by the way, it wasn't a joke. The objection line was not a joke. It wasn't even an attempt at a joke. It was a nobly false statement, right? Mm-hmm. That MAGA was working overtime to try to deny that the shooter of Charlie Kirk was one of them. And this was, he should have known from over the weekend. He said it last Monday. Spencer Cock and others soaked in leftist ideology. Then on Tuesday, we get the charging document, makes it absolutely clear what Tyler Robinson was all about. And Kimmel didn't correct or address it on Tuesday night. And then his superiors were worried about what he was going to say Wednesday night because apparently he was going to blame MAGA for the whole flap. And they said no. So they suspended him, and now he's back. That's ABC's decision. I won't be watching.
Rich Lowry is the editor of the National Review on KCMO Talk Radio. So, in the wake of the last couple of weeks, the memorial service on Sunday, I don't know, how well you knew Charlie Kirk, if at all, Rich Lowry, but what has been going through your mind, and how have you been processing what has been a emotional roller coaster of a couple of weeks for millions of Americans?
Well, I knew him a little bit, but not as well as some others, and it's just a shocking and horrific event. I can't get out of my head just the image of him slumping in that chair. I did not look at the close-up images. I'm very queasy, and I think as a matter of respect, you should try to avoid viewing those things for the person involved. But the reaction, I think, has been heartening. I think a lot of people, not all, but some people left of center have given him credit for doing it the right way, which he absolutely did. And that memorial service is extraordinary, with the obviously the emotional high point being Erica Kirk. I believe you can't stand on a stage like that and say and feel what she did when she said she forgives the murderer of her husband without the grace of God. So I think it was one of the more compelling displays of Christian faith that we've seen in years or perhaps decades.
Can it have legs, Rich, or are we going to sit here in a week and be like, yeah, that was a great speech, and then we're all back to the same nonsense?
Well, I think, in terms of what we talk about and what's on cable, we'll go back to the same nonsense. But I think there are a lot of people, I'm sure you've heard this yourself, a lot of conservative activists, conservatives out there just like, whatever I've done to this point is not enough, and I'm going to do more. So I think this could be a really galvanizing moment. It's obviously been galvanizing so far for Turning Point USA. We'll see over time how they can take advantage of all this energy and new interest. So the dark place to go is if they're copycats or if there's retaliation. So I'm hoping that the sentiment, the kind of reaction is going to avoid that. And so far, again, I think the reaction's been pretty hardening.
Rich Lowry's joining us on 95.7 FM. Rich, I do want to ask you about President Trump yesterday. Some surprising comments at the UN basically insinuating that Ukraine can take back all of its land it lost to Russia, and calling Russia a paper tiger. What's your interpretation on what Trump, because Trump doesn't say stuff like that without there being a purpose behind it. So what do you think his strategy was in those comments and what it means in this Ukraine-Russia war going forward?
One, it's a sign that his patience with Putin is almost entirely done here. In private conversations, my understanding, he's really very harsh about Putin. He knows what Putin's all about now. And it strikes me that if you want a negotiated end to this conflict, this is what you have to say, and this is what you have to do. And you can't be desperate for it. You can't be trying to get it in short order. You got to make it clear to the Russians it's just going to be nothing more than pain for them, and with limited gains or no gains. And then eventually, maybe they'll be serious about sitting down at the peace table. So maybe that's the play here. But I think it's the right approach.
Last thing, Rich Lowry, in the next 30 seconds or so, Kamala Harris making the book tours and talking about how close she was to beating Trump. This book, I mean, what does it say to you about that campaign, Kamala Harris as a candidate, and the party at large, if anything?
Well, one, at least it's interesting, right? Pissing on all these people. I'm not sure it's a great political play for her, but I think like it's half of it's true and half of it's self-serving. It obviously was reckless for Biden to run again, but did she stick her hand up and say no, let's not do this, or tell Jill between us, I don't think this is a great idea? No, of course they all went along with the lie. And she's just a terrible candidate. She's not in these interviews, and she's never going to get any better.
Rich Lowry, the editor of the National Review. Rich, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks. Talk soon.
All right. We'll get you the update from Fox News in 60 seconds on the shooting at an ICE facility in Texas. That's next, and then Patrick Tuohy.
It's Mundo in the Morning. Now on FM at 95.7. Set a preset on your radio. KCMO Talk Radio.
We are in studio 8:35 on KCMO with Patrick Tuohy, our guest from the Show Me Institute. They're a Missouri-based think tank. But Patrick, he ruffled some feathers last week when he wrote an op-ed in the Kansas City Star about Blue Valley on the Kansas side taking in more money than ever while seeing a decrease in things like ACT scores. And boy, you're taking a lot of heat, my man.
The border war is over. I'm crossing lines. I wrote a few months ago for the Kansas City Star about the Kansas City Public School District. And, what I learned and what it reminded me is just that the numbers for school districts can be all over the place. For example, the public school district gives a number for the amount of money it spends per student. But then the Missouri State Department of Education gives another number. And when I sat down and did the calculations, I got a third number. So all the time, these guys are fudging numbers maybe, or they have creative interpretations. And ultimately, the most important thing is, are you delivering the product that parents are paying you to deliver? And I didn't just want to beat up on the public school district on the Missouri side. Blue Valley has gotten great ratings from U.S. News Report, for example, for being the best, if not one of the best in Kansas. And that's great. And they lead with that all the time. In all their financial reports, they say that this is our average ACT score in Blue Valley, and we lead the state. And so I just started looking through all the financial reports and figuring out, well, what's their rate this year, their ACT score? And lo and behold, since 2016, it's been going down. But their population is largely flat over the last 8 years, between 22 and 23,000. And of course, their budget has gone way up. So what's going on? And I tried to figure out, are they holding on to money? You had Dave Troppert of Kansas Policy on the yesterday morning, and he made a great point about how they spend a lot of their money hiring administrators or managers, and it's not necessarily getting into the classroom. And so again, as a kind of right of center conservative policy guy, what I am frustrated by, the years of debate about education I hear about in Kansas, is the two sides talk past each other, right? Republicans or conservatives will say, well, scores, we're not getting as good performance as we should. And the left says, well, we need more money. Well, both things are happening, right? Like, you're getting more money and you're also not performing. Ultimately, it's going to take the parents in those school districts to demand more accountability. It's not enough to be the best in the state if your own performance is going down. Maybe it's not going down as much as, Wyandotte County or other places in western Kansas, but when you're seeing a 12% drop in ACT scores over 8 years, like, if I were a parent in Blue Valley, I'd be really concerned.
And because they're getting more money than ever before, and that's one thing, they responded to your article that day in a letter that was sent out to parents. A lot of parents sent it to me, and then they wrote a response to your op-ed in the Kansas City Star. The reaction from the Blue Valley administration tells me you're right over the target. Like, the way that they just responded as quickly as they did. And they also didn't deny your main point. Right. Your main point was scores are down while your spending is up. Right. If that's a private business and the output is down while the spend is up, you've got a problem in that business. But when it comes to public education or anything with the government, it's, we're actually not spending enough or something. They always come back to that answer.
Right. And again, there could have been responses. So, for example, they could have said, well, Patrick, did you know that Kansas made ACT tests free in, I think, 2017? So therefore, more kids are taking it, and so maybe the numbers go down. That's a completely fair response, but I would argue, all right, what that tells me is that the lower scores are more representative of the school district than those higher scores were years ago. And I would also say, all right, that's fair. That may account for a one-time drop, but a slow but consistent decline since 2016 is we still don't have the answer for that. But they didn't even acknowledge it. It was like a paragraph or two paragraphs of pablum about the U.S. News and World Report rating, about the number of scholars. And again, I conceded that in the piece. Yeah. I led with that. But again, if the school district isn't serious about maybe they don't have an answer, but they should say, yes, we see this. We see that this is happening. Again, we're reporting it in our own financial documents. we want to understand what's going on. But they don't. They just close ranks, put out a PR document. And again, my kids have all graduated high school, but if I were in Prairie Village, if I were in Blue Valley, I'd want more than just, hey, everything's great.
Yeah.
Because it's not.
Patrick Toohey, Show Me Institute's here on KCMO. What will it take, though? We're a half decade in to some of these eye-opening public school issues that I think people are starting to care more about. And there's no evidence that parents are ever going to demand accountability, sad to say. Their taxes keep going up. Results are getting worse. Do you really think there's any kind of an awakening? Because a lot of parents are just saying, I'm finding alternative methods of education.
Well, I think that's part of it. I think people were going to exit the system.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that all over the country. They're whether it's charter schools or private schools, or maybe it's homeschooling or pod schools where you get together with a handful of other families. People are going to find other alternatives because it is their what's important to them is that their kids actually get educated and that performance go up. If school districts can't deliver on that, then people are going to go elsewhere. What was troubling or surprising, maybe not so surprising to me, is some of the responses I got privately were just, how dare you attack us? You don't even live in Kansas,
which is irrelevant.
You're using. One letter said you're using. The school district shouldn't even have to spend resources to respond to your questions. Like, what kind of taxpayer attitude is that? Like, give us money. What are you doing with it? Never mind what we're doing with it. Just give it to us. But I think what happens is when it's an us versus them, and it's my team go. I mean, look, you cover sports. Sometimes people who are fan of a team don't want to hear criticism of that team.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the numbers may be very clear.
But this shouldn't be a team thing. This shouldn't be Democrat, Republican. It should be parents versus the system, as Dave Traubert calls it. And it's now become the stupid, well, I'm a Democrat, so I'm going to defend everything a school system and a public school system does. It's like, why? You're a taxpayer. You're a parent. Who cares about that?
Right. And especially when what's at stake is not some sort of abstract policy thing, but it's the education of your own children. My kids went to the Shawnee Mission School District, and I had challenges there. I had a teacher confide in me years ago that there's just rampant grade inflation going on. And so all of a sudden I realized all the numbers I've depended on to understand how my child is performing are meaningless. I've got all this feedback, and now all of a sudden I don't know what any of it means. And they wanted to put some of my daughters in kind of a advanced learning program where they take you out half a day or a full day. And it was all very yay, rah, rah, your kid's bright, we're doing this. And I kept having to ask the same question before I got an answer, which is there any evidence that this program makes smart kids smarter? The answer was no. There's no research behind it, but it makes parents feel good. You get to say it at the cocktail parties. You get to put it in your Christmas letter. Junior has been in an advanced program. And because parents are happy, principals are happy, school districts are happy, right? But is anything real happening? No.
And then you can just say, hey, I need more money. I need a tax levy for this.
Right,
we're doing that. We need more. This is why we got to increase your property taxes by another 5-7%.
One of the things that for a while, the Kansas City public schools were unaccredited because they missed a number of measurements. Well, they increased. They got accreditation or provisional. I don't know where they stand now, but one of it was they increased graduation rates. Well, that sounds good for a minute. And then you're like, well, I don't know did they lower the standards? Are they just, is it just kind of a rotating door where people just are technically graduated, but they haven't learned anymore? So again, it's people have to understand that sometimes the stuff they're being fed sounds good, but when they think about it, and even when they look at the district's own data, it's a mess. And the district has to, again, I'm not demanding that they have answers, but I like that they would acknowledge the problems, and they haven't even done that.
They haven't. They have not done it at all. Patrick Toohey on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. You can always stream us on the iHeart TuneIn app as well. So last thing in 30 seconds, we're not going to talk before the Frank White recall. I know, you guys don't get into that kind of stuff, but what do you think that decision means for the future of Jackson County?
So I am confident he will be recalled. I don't think it changes anything. In fact, from a stadium point of view, I think we risk putting somebody in who's more willing to be a sucker for the teams. And I don't understand how it impacts anything on property assessments. Mm-hmm. So it is a reaction. It is people want to stick it to Frank White, and I get it. Political leaders should be held accountable, and if they're upset at what they're being given, they should be able to get rid of those people. I just don't know that it makes anything better.
All right. We'll see what happens on Tuesday.
We will.
All right. Patrick Tuohy on KCMO. What If Wednesday? 3 questions we'll get to coming up next on KCMO Talk Radio.
If it's happening in KCMO, it's on KCMO 95.7 FM. Here's Pete Mundo.
We have this breaking news out of Dallas, Texas. 3 shot outside of the ICE detention facility in Dallas. No officers were shot. Looks like 3 detainees were shot, and the gunman suffered a self-inflicted wound. So that is what we are monitoring this morning. All ICE employees are accounted for, but there are confirmed fatalities as the victims appear to be, at this point in time, detainees. So we'll keep you updated on this story throughout the morning here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Always streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Let's do it on a Wednesday.
KCMO Talk Radio, now on FM at 95.7. It's time for What If Wednesday.
What if, instead of having you on this radio station, there was somebody else?
All right, John Anthony, What If Wednesday? 3 questions, my man. What is on the rundown?
What if Jimmy Kimmel had issued an apology last night?
Well, then it wouldn't have sounded like what it sounded like. Is that a good place to start? It wouldn't have been this crocodile tear-infected bunch of gobbledygook and the old, I'm sorry if you were offended by my ill-timed joke thing that he went for. It was not a joke last week. I mean, he wasn't going for, people laugh because they think Kimmel's funny. I can't imagine why, but this is what Jimmy Kimmel said that got him suspended.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points.
That was Jimmy Kimmel last week. So right away, it just doesn't make any sense, right? Especially he says it on a Monday. We, at that point, have a pretty good idea as to what exactly is going on with the shooter, what's motivating them. Multiple press conferences had been done at that point following his arrest. And just you think about it on a very surface area level, why would anybody on the MAGA side, to use Kimmel's verbiage there, come to the conclusion that it's anything but, based on the information that was out there, somebody on the other side of the political aisle? Right? Especially once we learned about this guy's background. So just that alone is enough to say, what are you doing, Jimmy? Why are you being that disingenuous and dishonest with your own viewers? Well, because that's what he does, and it finally came back to bite him. He got suspended. He was back last night. He got some big ratings, and I thought he missed a major opportunity to just be funny to all Americans. So some humility, be humble, apologize, and then actually just do a comedy show for all Americans. But he went back to his same old shtick, and we'll get to more of that coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, John.
What if Kamala Harris had had more time in her run for the presidency?
Then she would have lost by even more, okay? I mean, literally, when you look at the polling, Kamala Harris was leading Trump all of August into half of September. And then she totally fell off the map. So Kamala tells The View yesterday, hey, you know what? If I had had more time than 107 days, we would have turned this thing around. I would have won the election. I just didn't have enough time. It's like, no, you actually had too much time. People got to know you too well. And they were like, this ain't going to work. This is not a good play. So they bailed on her. And that's what resulted in her losing every single swing state. And it resulted in her losing the popular vote. First time that happened for a Democrat in 20 years. So for her to go around and be like, if only I had more time. And that's kind of the premise of her book, 107 Days, the race to try to win the presidency. It's like, no, if you actually only had 30 days, you might have won. More time for Kamala Harris would have resulted in a worse loss for Kamala Harris.
And she got in there with her cronies on The View. It wasn't a mandate. No, you got hammered in every state.
Every
in the
state,
union.
Major demographics across the board, swing districts across the board. No, this was a mandate. And I don't know where she's coming up with this thing like it was the closest election ever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know where that's coming from.
Right.
Like, you lost every swing state, and you lost the popular vote. This whole, it was the closest ever based on what? The closest ever since 2022? I mean, it's the only one since. What are we going for here exactly? I couldn't figure that out.
Yep. All right. What if Tylenol had once put out a statement saying they didn't recommend using their products when pregnant?
Well, then don't go back to the Tylenol Twitter timeline from 2017, because this is what they posted March 7th of 2017 in a post that is now going viral all over social media. Tylenol, from the official account, posted on March 7th, 2017, "We actually don't recommend using our products while pregnant." That is a post that they put up almost 9 years ago. And everyone is now finding that post from 9 years ago and blasting it out to the world. Because why not, right? You've had all this crazy conversation about Tylenol, and I don't know what's true. I mean, I want them to continue to study things. I think it's important to look at this stuff. I want to follow the facts and the science. I don't have really an opinion on it. I just want to know that this stuff is being researched. That seems like a valuable thing to do. It seems like there are enough studies out there suggesting that this is something we should be studying and looking into, and not just blindly saying, nope, because Trump's administration said that this might be a thing. Obviously, it's not true. Have you seen this? There have been these pregnant women on social media taking videos of themselves on TikTok downing Tylenol.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Of course.
That's literally happening. Wow. I know. You probably hadn't seen it since you're banned from all the social media platforms, but that's happening. You can find them right now. Viral videos of pregnant women taking Tylenol to stick it to Trump. I mean, that is next level TDS, man.
It is platinum level, as we say.
Yes, platinum level TDS is what that is. But it's happening. It's let's just agree that we should be looking into why autism rates keep skyrocketing. We should look into all this stuff. Science should evolve. It's supposed to evolve.
They might as well light up a Camel or a Lucky Strike and down it with a 6-pack of Mickey's malt liquor, Go ahead.
Just do it.
I'll watch.
Just do it. Coming up, the cringiest thing I saw from last night on Kimmel we'll get to next. Dallas police are set to give an update on the ICE facility shooting. As soon as we hear more from the Dallas officials, we'll bring it to you here on KCMO Talk Radio. We do know that as of right now, this shooting occurred just before 7 a.m. 2 ICE detainees were killed and 1 person was injured. So no ICE agents were shot in this attack on the Dallas ICE facility. We do not know at this point if there were any other shooters involved. Sources saying down in Dallas that police were searching for a possible sniper or multiple shooters. 1 shooter is dead. So the way they're framing that 1 shooter is dead implies that there might be more than 1, but we'll find out. They're setting up for a press conference down in Dallas outside of the ICE facility. As soon as that gets underway, we'll bring it to you here on KCMO Talk Radio. There's still a massive police presence on the scene. It's right off I-35. They had shut down parts of I-35 in both directions while officials responded to the scene, and the northbound lane eventually reopened at about 8 a.m., but it was a mess, and it looks like they've got similar weather to us, except they're getting more rain this morning. We haven't had as much of that in the Kansas City area, but as soon as this thing does go to a press conference, we will bring it to you here on KCMO. Once again, to reset, police are set to update momentarily on the ICE facility shooting down in Dallas. We know that 3 people are dead, 2 ICE detainees, 1 shooter, and 1 other detainee was injured in this attack down in Dallas early this morning. All right, Jimmy Kimmel makes his return last night to ABC, and it was cringy. I watched it this morning. I was not going to lose sleep over Jimmy Kimmel. I ended up just getting up early and watching his 28-minute monologue that he did there. But this was just, oh gosh, I'm cringing just thinking about playing it. But since I saw it, you've got to listen to it for yourself, all right? I've got to share this with you because if I have to suffer, we're all suffering together here, okay? We're one big family on KCMO Talk Radio. And this was a skit that was done between Jimmy Kimmel and noted TDS sufferer Bob De Niro. Jim and Bob did a little skit together. And of course, it was hyper-partisan because Bob's the guy who's like, screaming at Trump on the street corner in New York City. He's yelling at the walls about Trump there in New York. So it was such a missed opportunity for Kimmel because he had this huge audience last night. He could have gone back to the Johnny Carson playbook. He could have hit the reset button on his whole career. He elected not to do it. Missed opportunity. He got a big bump last night. He'll be back to the same lowly rated numbers he had before all this stuff happened. And this cringy skit between Jim and Bob De Niro, who is playing in the skit the FCC chairman, is just, I'm warning you, you're going to cringe.
I'm sorry, what is your name? Because I was expecting to talk to the chairman of the FCC.
You don't need to know my name, and I am the new chairman of the FCC.
You were appointed FCC chairman by Donald Trump?
Sir Trump, yes. I used to do some work for the man here and there in Atlantic City.
But did I just hear you on the phone threatening Whoopi Goldberg?
No, I would never threaten Miss Goldstein. I was just teaching her a lesson about consequences.
No, well, pardon me for saying so. Maybe you're the wrong guy to talk to, but it seems like the FCC is using mob tactics to suppress free speech.
What the did you just say to me?
I didn't mean any offense. You know, you can't curse or we'll get fined by the FCC.
I am the FCC. I can say whatever the I want. No.
Well, it sounds a little like threats and intimidation to me, Chairman.
Stop that. It's just me, Jimmy, the chairman of the FCC, gently suggesting that you gently shut the up.
But you can't say that. That's a violation of free speech.
Oh, yeah, about that. Speech, it ain't free no more.
What? It's not free no more?
Yeah, we're charging by the word now.
You're charging by the word? How much are you charging?
It depends on what you want to say. Like, you want to say something nice about the president's beautiful, thick yellow hair, or how he can do his makeup better than any broad. That's free.
Okay. All right. That seems reasonable.
But if you want to do a joke like he's so fat he needs 2 seats on the Epstein jet, that's going to cost.
Can I just ask, just for clarity, because it's a pretty good joke, how much would that one cost me?
A couple of fingers, maybe a tooth, and look at how constipated he is.
So is this how things are going to go from now on?
We also got a new motto at the FCC. Sticks and stones may break your bones.
And? Well, the rest of that is, but I think, but words can never harm you.
Oh, well, they can harm you now. Let's make sure you pick the right words. Capiche?
Cringy, not funny. And I'm not trying to be soft about this, but to end the skit the way that they did by using the old sticks and stones may break my bones, what words will never hurt me. When they joke about, well, is Trump going to get Jimmy Kimmel fired because of his words? Bro, we're 2 weeks removed from a guy losing his life because of his words. And you idiots are turning Jim into a martyr. This is amazing. Okay? Yes, the right has made Charlie Kirk, and he is now a martyr because Charlie Kirk used his words, and frankly, he used them too effectively for his political opponents that he got killed. Jim was suspended for a few days, is back to his $15 million a year job where he's got hundreds of employees to support this lowly rated 5-hour-a-week show. And he acts like he's the martyr, and his political sycophants are actually supporting that martyrdom. Our martyrs are not the same. And if you want Jimmy Kimmel to be your martyr as you put him out there as the guy who's standing up to Trump's infringement on his free speech, be my guest. I'll take my martyr 7 days a week and twice on Sunday, and let's see how that works out and how that plays with the American people in the months and years to come, John.
There is not enough preparation H on the planet to soothe the butthurt of that last 2 people in that clip.
I know, man. You're right about that.
It's just ridiculous.
Between Jim and Bob, man,
Bobby
these
Belt.
guys are just platinum level TDS, and they deserve each other.
Yes.
You know? And if there's someone who, frankly, should not have made an appearance last night, it was Bob. I mean, if you were just trying to double down on your shrinking base of an audience, you'd trot out De Niro. It's like nobody even thought strategically what made the most sense to take advantage of this enormous audience that you were going to have last night that apparently I saw on CNN was like 6.8 million, which is 6 times what it normally is. You would think that they would have thought that strategically, what makes sense for this show. Instead, I guess their goal here is to what? Peel off some of Colbert's shrinking audience? Like, is that really the strategy? There's a huge lane here for Jimmy Fallon, and I'll refer to him as Jimmy. Kimmel can be Jim. Jimmy Fallon can be Jimmy.
I'm with you.
There's a major lane that is wide open for Jimmy Kimmel, who I always thought as being the least political of the 3, who I really believe just wants to like make some jokes and play some songs and do his guitar deal and riff on things and people and not be hyper political. He got drawn into it the last few years, but he never really, I believe, wanted to be that guy. If he's smart about it, just from a pure strategy and business perspective, he'll go back to the Carson playbook. Will his bosses at NBC allow it? Will they support that? They should if they care about making money and getting ratings, but that remains to be seen. We have an upcoming press conference happening outside of the Dallas ICE facility after 4 people were shot, including at least 1 gunman, early this morning, right off the road at I-35 down there in Dallas. So as soon as that gets underway and we learn more about what happened, we will bring it to you here on KCMO Talk Radio. Once again, the breaking news: 4 people shot, 3 are dead. 2 ICE detainees were killed. Another one was shot, and 1 shooter is dead as well. This press conference is moments away from happening. When it does come, we will break it in here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM.
Hey, it's Kevin Keatsman. Stick around. I'm coming up at 10 o'clock right after Pete Mundo on KCMO 95.7 FM.
Well, we are awaiting a press conference outside of the Dallas ICE facility where 4 people were shot this morning. 3 are dead, including 1 shooter, 2 ICE detainees. No ICE agents were shot. That is what we know right now at 9:21 on a Wednesday. As soon as we get more information on this, we'll bring it to you on KCMO. This press conference is set to start any minute now. So when it does begin, we'll bring it to you right here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. So there's been a bunch of reaction, obviously, in the wake of Jimmy Kimmel. What is free speech? What is not free speech? John Anthony actually watched it live last night, the only one on the show to take it in real time. So that's why John's a little groggy this morning.
Hate watching.
Yeah. Hey, you're not alone. 7 million people tuned in, okay? It's way above Kimmel's normal numbers. You got 7 million people to tune in. There were a lot of people either hate watching or intrigue watching that will not watch another episode ever again.
My house tonight will be like Key and Peele there. Hey, Ron?
Yeah.
Hey. I'm not present. I'm not watching tonight.
No. Trust me, you're not alone. And that's why it was, as I just talked about, a missed opportunity for Jim to try to actually build a broader audience. Instead, he's doubling down on the same old nonsense. But this has been a topic of conversation. Is this an infringement of free speech? No, infringement of free speech is like the government says, hey, we've got to take somebody off the air because we don't like what they're saying. And while I thought Trump didn't do a good job in his commentary last night on Truth Social, I'll get to momentarily, what this appears to be thus far, based on statements from ABC and affiliate owners like Sinclair and Nexstar, is this is their decision. ABC suspended Kimmel last Wednesday in part because they didn't trust what Kimmel was going to say coming up that night. They made that very clear. And now that tensions have kind of subsided, they put him back on the air and he does the same old shtick. That's not living in some kind of a dictatorship. But when you listen to some of the commentary around other cable news outlets, this was Jim Clyburn, who is a representative out of South Carolina, and here is what he had to say yesterday on CNN.
Well, I don't think they're the same, simply because Biden, if any of this took place, these weren't jokes. This wasn't a TV show. This was a pandemic, and we didn't need to have misinformation going out about this pandemic. There was enough coming from the president at the time. Put Clorox in your veins? That's the kind of foolishness that Biden.
So Jim Clyburn's literally getting up there, and they ask him a question saying, hey, if you're going to get mad at Trump for, as you may say, infringing on free speech, well, what about this decision yesterday where Google admitted to censorship under Joe Biden's presidency? And they said that due to political speech violations on topics such as COVID-19 and elections, they were basically banning people on YouTube. Don't you have to be upset with that if you're going to claim that Trump is trying to get Jimmy Kimmel thrown off the air? And Jim Clyburn says, nope, because that was a pandemic. This is a joke. Dude, at the very least, look in the mirror and realize how intellectually dishonest you are being with that kind of statement. No. See, it's okay when we do it because we're trying to save lives. We're so important. We're trying to save people here. That is a quintessential example.
Well, it was Google yesterday, wasn't it? Meta a couple of weeks ago, a few months ago, with Mark Zuckerberg there.
This is a quintessential example of somebody thinking that the government can do no wrong. I would like Trump to stop talking about Jimmy Kimmel. I would like Trump to never post online about Jimmy Kimmel. I don't think he's necessarily doing himself or his side any favors when he continues to beat this same old drum. But if you can't look at what Jim Clyburn just said when he goes, hey, no, see, it's okay when Biden tries to tell YouTube who they can and can't platform based on what we deem misinformation, and then be outraged when Jim gets suspended by his own company in what appears to be, based on the evidence so far, a free market decision. Bro, I can't help you see the light on this. I'm doing my best. I'm trying here. In the spirit of Charlie Kirk, I want to maybe give you the benefit of the doubt in not thinking you're as dense as you're coming off, but you're not giving me much to work with,
No,
Jim.
they aren't. They aren't.
Come on, Jim. You're not giving me much to work with there, buddy. Oh, my gosh, John. It's killing me right now.
I'm telling you, man, sometimes I beat my head on the wall there. Got a big sheetrock hole there. There's different sizes for different distress.
I was going to say, do you use the same hole and it just gets bigger, or do you go to different parts of the drywall?
No. Well, I've got a picture window now. I'm doing French doors on the first hole I started this week. So.
Oh, that's great.
No, I was screaming at my TV because he literally wrapped himself in the flag, Jimmy Kimmel, saying he has the First Amendment right for free speech and that in other countries he'd be jailed. And I'm going, exactly the point. You are not being persecuted. You were taken off the air for something you were going to say.
Yeah, that's true,
the next night,
Mm-hmm.
not what you did say.
Yep, that's a big part of that story that gets overlooked. You're right about that. Not just what he said last Monday, but what he was apparently set to say, according to Disney, coming up on Wednesday night when they said, dude, apologize, and he apparently was going to double down. So that's on him. We are moments away from this police update on the ICE facility shooting down in Texas. When it starts, we'll bring it to you right here on KCMO. Our caller of the day and more is next.
You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM.
Well, still awaiting the press conference down in Dallas from the ICE facility where 4 people were shot, 3 are dead, 2 detainees and 1 shooter are dead. Another detainee has been injured. That's what we know right now. When that press conference does start, if it's done here by the top of the hour, we'll bring it to you on KCMO Talk Radio and see what the latest is from down there in Dallas. In the meantime, we'll tee up our caller of the day, who is tied to, of course, one of the topics of the day, and that is old Jim. James, maybe we should call him James. James Kimmel, returning to the airwaves last night. Let's do it.
Hello?
It's the Mundo in the Morning Caller of the Day on KCMO Talk Radio. Now on FM at 95.7.
913-408-7957. I got 30 seconds for you, Steve and KCK. What's on your mind?
Hey, Pete, I watched the performance last night. It was one of those, I'm sorry you felt that way,
Yes.
apologies, I think the guy's contract is up next year. They were going to fire him, and they had all this blowback from people canceling their Disney subscriptions. So I wouldn't. I think he's still a goner. His ratings are terrible. He's terrible at his job. He has no talent. So don't fall for the crocodile tears. I mean,
No.
this is he's an actor. He hosts the Oscars. So let's I thought he was playing to his liberal audience last night. Don't fall for it. Is what I'm saying basically.
There you go. That is Steven, our caller of the day on KCMO. On the text line, 913-408-7957. Pete, be careful. Jimmy's wife is a KU graduate and executive produces the Oscars. You're never going to make the big award show. That was on the old bucket list, John, getting to walk down the red carpet at the Oscars with you by my side. I'd take you to the Oscars.
All right. That sounds like a deal. You'll hear me from the upper deck.
Oh, man.
Well, I could think of nothing more pretentious.
I know.
Than go into that.
I know.
Could not stand it.
It's like when they ask you, Ryan Seacrest on the red carpet. So what are you wearing? I don't know. Men's Warehouse, I think. I mean, I don't know. A hand-me-down suit? That's what I'm wearing. That's not the answer you're looking for there. But
I love Rodney Dangerfield movie Easy Money creates the regular guy look, and he'll take an old business shirt and rip the sleeves off. It's sleeveless,
Oh, man.
That's the look.
But I did see that. I confirmed this texter was accurate in that text, and they are right. Molly McNerney, who is Jimmy Kimmel's wife, is the co-head writer and executive producer of the show, Jimmy Kimmel Live.
One of the hundreds of people employed by that show.
Well, now I know why he was so upset. It would have been a dual income loss there in that household,
No
right?
kidding, yeah.
She graduated KU in 2000, and she was the executive producer of the Oscars in 2023 and 2024. And she has been political as well in her past. In the 2022 midterms, Molly McNarney spoke during the show's monologue in November of 22, urging people to vote for candidates that support abortion rights. So, went to KU.
Well, that didn't jive with his sick son.
I know.
Yeah, I had the sick son worried about his insurance care with Obama and all that stuff.
I know. And he does. That's one thing. And Bill O'Reilly has talked about this, that he does have a son who was born with a rare heart defect.
Right.
And this son was born in 2017. And he's talked a lot about this, not really on the air, but O'Reilly has talked about this on some of the hits that he's done, where he said, hey, I know Jimmy a little bit, and he does do incredible work in this lane for kids who have this heart defect. And he's been very generous with his time and his money in this space. He doesn't talk a lot about it on the air, but he has done very good work on this front, and I give him a lot of credit for it. So that's great. That's how it should be.
That's the thing that bothers me. Right? He has mentioned it on the air because as seldom as I watch it, I know about it. Right? So when he brings it up, it's just incongruous with the whole abortion rights thing. And it just seems disingenuous.
I think
so if he's doing great work, he should own it.
I think you're a closet Kimmel watcher.
You got me on that. I don't know. That's when I turned it off. Maybe that was 2017. It was no longer an option at my house. I mean, I immediately find the remote if I don't have it right handy.
Mark, you buying what John's trying to sell us on right now, or do you think he's secretly, closetly watching Kimmel every night?
I bet he stopped watching it, around, what was that, year 1 or 2 of Trump the first time around? That makes sense.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. You want to give him the benefit of the doubt? That's fine.
Listen,
I'm not sure
I
I'm
come to
ready.
the show prepared with expertise, and I'm getting tarred and feathered here as a closet lib. Come on, man. You know me better than that out in the hallway.
No. You could be hate watching it. Okay. I never said why you were watching it. You could be hate watching. Trust me, I see the text line. There are people hate listening to me right now.
I suppress things I hate, Pete. So I think you know better than that.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. I just figured you might need something to really get you ramped up before going to bed. Helps you sleep at night, right? You get super pissed off and then you just crash.
I wake up from my nap. Yeah, I do. I have a nap. I wake up and what's the news here? What am I going to write about in the morning? Okay. Oh, Jimmy Kimmel's coming on. Where's the remote? Except for last night.
Except for last night. That's exactly right. Oh,
no,
my
I have him
gosh.
down as not using the word SORRY at all, and I believe I'm correct.
I didn't see it, but, you were on it live last night.
He also didn't use MAGA or Republican, that cancels out on my bet. I only got 2 of them right, though.
So your parlay did not hit last night?
No, got 2 out of 4 since one of them voided.
Ah, okay. All right. It's okay, Mark. You'll get them back on Saturday. A little college football action, right?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. All right. We are still awaiting the press conference out of the Dallas, Texas ICE facility where 3 people were killed and 4 were shot this morning. Now they have the microphones covered up. It's raining down there in Dallas. So the microphones are now covered with like this mini tarp piece of plastic. So that would suggest to me this press conference is not about to start.
We have had umpteen people walk through the shot and they'll stand back and look at the camera. Oh, whoa, better keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They better get a tent up.
I know.
Yeah, I was going to say, that little baggie over the microphones is barely efficient.
Yeah, it's not doing too well. So I don't know who's going to be delivering this press conference, but yeah, someone's got to hold the umbrella.
Our engineer, Dennis, would say that is fraught with peril.
Yeah, it looks like it is. All right, well, if it happens before we're off the air, we'll try to get you the latest on KCMO. We don't really know much beyond what we've been reporting now for the better part of 1 hour.
Brooke Taylor's been filibustering there for a while for Fox News.
Yeah, she's doing good work down in Dallas. Fox has been teasing this thing since they put up the microphones, and it's been about an hour since those microphones went up. So I don't know if, I got to imagine they're trying to get all the latest information that they possibly can and then do this press conference one time before probably an update maybe in the middle of the day, which is the right way to do it. But, you've got one shooter who is dead. There also are reports out of Dallas that there may be more than one shooter. They're still investigating that. So there's probably more that we don't know right now than we do know. But if we do hear from law enforcement down in Dallas before we get off the air, we will bring it to you right here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Keatsman Uncanceled comes up at 10 o'clock. We do have some information on a GoFundMe that has been set up for the man who was beaten up at T-Mobile for doing nothing other than his job in telling a teenager to go sit in his seat. And now he's gone viral. The New York Post, TMZ, they're on this story as well. So what are the details around the GoFundMe for the man who was beat up at T-Mobile, working the scene at the NBA YoungBoy concert? We'll tell you about that next.
Dave Ramsey here, and you're listening to Pete Mundo on KCMO Talk Radio, now airing on FM at 95.7.
It does not look like the press conference out of Dallas is going to happen, not only not before we're off the air, but possibly anytime soon. Microphones are covered up. It is raining down there in Dallas this morning. So as soon as we get some more information, we'll bring it to you. 4 people shot, including one shooter. Implication being there could be more than one. That is part of the investigation right now. It came from a rooftop near the ICE facilities down in Dallas. And the 3 people shot, 2 killed, were ICE detainees. No ICE agents were injured in this attack. So that is what we know right now, and we'll wait to see how it plays out. Now, a story here in Kansas City from Sunday night at the NBA Youngboy concert. That's his name, NBA Youngboy. Has led to the New York Post and TMZ covering this story where this older gentleman, Thomas Schlang, 66-year-old worker at T-Mobile Center, walks up to a 14-year-old kid and says, "Hey, could you get back in your seat?" And the kid ends up beating him up. It is a video that has gone viral. Fox 4, to its credit, has been on it. Even the Kansas City Star, listen, I would not have had this on my bingo card. Even the Kansas City Star had this as a lead story for a period of time on their website like last night. I was shocked that the Kansas City Star had this as a lead story. But as they reported, a minor was detained by KCPD after he appeared to beat up a T-Mobile Center employee at the NBA Youngboy concert Sunday night. The boy was released to his guardian, and the investigation is ongoing. We talked to Jackson County Prosecutor Melissa Johnson about this morning. And as she told us, this is not going to be basically something handled by her office. It will be handled in court by a family judge, and he will make the recommendation as to whether or not this is something that this individual should be charged as an adult with or not. So that'll be up to a judge. I highly doubt that this is something that gets moved over to Melissa Johnson's office. I just would be shocked by that. We've seen how these judges operate in Jackson County. They are terrible at their job. They do not take, sadly, the law seriously in too many cases, and they are not willing to be tough against criminals in Jackson County by and large. That's why you have some of these problems. We talk a lot about not having enough police officers. We talk a lot about the failures of the prosecutor's office, more so under Melissa's predecessor, Gene Peters Baker. But we forget oftentimes about the judges, and they're a big part of the problem here and around the country. But we do have some news here. There is a GoFundMe that was set up by the family of the T-Mobile employee beat up. His name is Thomas Schlang, 66 years old. It was set up by a family member, Herbert Lopez, and I've reached out to Herbert on social media. We will try to get Thomas on the show when we can. Herbert is the grandson of Thomas Schlang. And he writes here on the GoFundMe, "My name is Herbert Lopez. We're asking for help for the physical damage my grandfather, Thomas Schlang, suffered on Sunday night at T-Mobile. He was attacked by a young guest after being asked to sit at his own seat while being in the wrong one. He won't be able to work. He also has glaucoma, and one of his eyes may suffer more damage later on. We are devastated for the injustice of this person and other attendees that didn't stop this guy at all. Anything will help. God bless you." So I will post this on my personal pages after I talk to the grandson and just make sure everything's on the up and up. But they do have a picture there of Thomas. I mean, you can see his face is beaten up pretty good. They're trying to raise $10,000. So they're not trying to turn this into like a $100,000 deal or $1 million deal. I mean, don't forget what happened up in the Northland. Ralph Yarl was shot by Andrew Lester. You have role reversal going on here when it comes to race. And Ralph Yarl's GoFundMe got over $3 million. $3.478 million on the Ralph Yarl GoFundMe that was set up by his aunt. Thomas Schlang, and I'm not comparing them. It's not an apples-to-apples comparison in terms of what happened. One guy got shot. One guy was beat up. Now, thank God they both survived. But still, very different circumstances. But you got the Schlang family trying to get up to $10,000 in donations. So far, they've raised $6,600 of their $10,000 goal. And if you feel inspired to donate, you can do that. Once I talk to the grandson, we'll get the links up on social media and go from there. We'll wrap it up with something that Jimmy Kimmel said last night that I will give him some credit for. You know, we've been tough on this 28-minute monologue that he gave last night. And I try my best to find forgiveness in someone like Jimmy Kimmel, but it was very difficult to do based on his statements last night. That being said, he did have a good moment. And yes, he did break out the crocodile tears for this one too. But it did seem more genuine than other parts of the show that I saw from last night. Here was Jimmy Kimmel talking about Erica Kirk.
A moment over the weekend, a very beautiful moment. I don't know if you saw this. On Sunday, Erica Kirk forgave the man who shot her husband. She forgave him. That is an example we should follow. If you believe in the teachings of Jesus as I do, there it was. That's it. A selfless act of grace, forgiveness from a grieving widow. It touched me deeply. And I hope it touches many. And if there's anything we should take from this tragedy to carry forward, I hope it can be that.
Am I being too polite, John, giving him some credit for that one, or are you not buying that? Is that just more acting by Jim?
Acting genius.
Okay, wow, okay, so he's tricked me. I think there's, of everything he said last night, that was the most genuine thing I heard. But we'll be on different sides on that. I'm okay with that.
That's what happens when you drink a glass of kaopectate right before your monologue there. He was brushing it. He's a bit of distress.
All right, so you're not buying it.
No.
I thought that was the one part of the monologue where I was like, okay, you almost got me there, Jim.
There's too many obfuscations and outright lies in the alleged apology for me to take any of it seriously.
All right. John and I'll keep the argument going in the hallway since the show's over here in about 12 seconds. Keatsman's take it over just after the top of the hour news on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. We'll talk with you tomorrow.
Kansas City's place to talk. KCMO.